Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a lovely week. Welcome back to TGO Podcast. If you're new here, thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to the podcast. Join us. This week's episode is a continuation from episode 10 with Hakeem, aka Mr. President. So it'll be a discussion on governments, politics, and race in general. So enjoy the episode. That's good oral.
And I hate that.
What are your views?
Let alone not just my views or my way of life, but not even just a government, but just an opposition that I can trust, that I can believe in. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, you just see it every day. And you mentioned the whole Black Lives Matter movement thing. I genuinely feel like the saddest part about it all is the fact that this country, which I love, right? Absolutely love this country. I genuinely feel like it's refusing to face the reality that it too is broken. And I'm talking in terms of just race and equality. And just something as simple as what happened on ITV with diversity, right? And it received thousands of complaints to the point where ITV they were putting pressure on ITV to apologize. And in my mind, I'm
what?
like, that's
for
it.
what?
For just simply
Actually,
because...
when I saw that video, I just thought great storytelling.
Simply
That's
because it spoke about the injustices that we as black people face. And then when you look at statistics and numbers, and people are quick to tell you and say, oh, but racial divisions and all these racial things, they're in America, they don't exist here. But then you look at the numbers and you're like, do you know that race inequality in the UK is just as bad as it is in the United States? Do you know that institutionally the criminal justice system is just as harsh or is just as unfair racially here as it is in the United States, in the medical field, in employment? The biggest thing for me was in the NBA, because people talk about why NBA players this. More than 50%, the majority of players in the NBA are black, but that's not represented when it comes to coaching staff, managers, owners, CEOs. Do you get it? It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, but they can do that there. But then you turn around and you're like, but how's that any different to the Premier League, where the majority of players within the Premier League are actually black? But people don't realize that. Do you get it?
Yeah.
And then you realize that's not the same. That's not the case when it comes to the coaches, to the managers, to the owners, to the CEOs, to the chief executives. So then it's like, where's the difference? Do you know what the difference is? That the police in the UK don't carry guns like police in America. There's armed police, but in America, every single officer is armed. Do you get it?
Yeah.
That's the difference. But when it comes to, in terms of an institutionally, the UK is literally just as racist as the United States. And I feel like our inability to accept that, to just simply have a conversation and listen to what we say. And for me, nothing frustrates me more, and I think this is why I kind of just shut down from the whole Black Lives Matter movement in terms of trying to speak to people about it. I do what I have to do. Do you get it? But I stop speaking to people about it because I can't understand how you can tell someone, this is my experience, and they turn around and say to you, no, it's not. How can I tell you that I'm feeling oppressed, and I tell you why I feel oppressed, and I show you numbers and statistics that back what I'm telling you up, but then you still tell me that that's not the case? I don't understand how people can think that race does not play a factor in people's lives. For me, it's one of those ones where it's a two-sided coin. I've always told people, I always had this conversation when this whole Black Lives Matter movement started.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need to be careful. We don't go too far to the extreme. And we see it within the Black community. We have extreme elements.
Yeah.
Do you get it? And for me, it's like, let's not take that route. You feel me? Because throughout history, like you've had voices where people are like, nah, we shouldn't work with white people, or we shouldn't accept their help, and we shouldn't do this. And it's like, okay, cool. Why do you say that? Okay, I hear you, but that's not the case.
That's not.
Throughout history, everywhere, from slavery through to colonialism, do you get it? And we cannot become that which we're fighting against. We cannot say that we're fighting racism whilst practicing racism. We cannot say that we want equality whilst discriminating. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
True.
We can't have it both ways. So there's that element. But at the same time, for me, what I would want to say is that it frustrates me so much when you hear people like, let's say, Piers Morgan, or Nick Ferrari, and all these other politicians or public figures telling us what our experience is, telling us what is or isn't racist. You can. I'll use an example.
Yeah.
Let's take gender. Let's use gender as an example, right?
Yeah.
I, as a man, cannot tell you, right?
Yeah.
What is or isn't intrusive to you.
Very true.
Do you get it? I can't tell you or dictate the rules and the lines as to what class or constitutes as sexual harassment.
True.
Do you get it? If you tell me that you consider my actions inappropriate, or you consider what I've done to be some form of sexual harassment, right? I can't turn around and say to you, no, you're wrong.
So how do we approach people that get defensive? So
with that, it's the same in race. Do you get it? I don't understand how you have certain people who try to, people within the white community telling us black people what is or isn't racism.
Because they don't see it.
So but it's not, I don't want to say it's not for them to see, but it's not. It's for them to understand.
I mean, so see and understand. So,
do you get it?
Yeah.
It's for them to learn. For me.
I mean, how can we teach them? We need to find different ways, because clearly statistics is not helping.
No.
We need to find different ways.
But this is why I gave up.
And sometimes, evidence, putting evidence in someone's face, it puts their back against the wall.
For me, what I see is that ignorance is real. And there are people who just don't want to learn.
True.
There's people who just don't want. Like, for them, they're locked in their ways. Do you get it? And then there are people who just need educating. And I feel like for as long as we're speaking and having these conversations, those who want to learn will. Do you get it? Anyone who's good, who's has good intentions, who's good-hearted, will always learn. Do you get it? And will always understand. And I feel like, for me, the approach that I take, because I'm very passionate when it comes to women equality, right?
Yeah.
Very passionate about that. But I take an approach where I understand that I can never understand. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I know from the beginning.
So you're always
I have
learning.
no idea. I can never understand what it's like to be a woman. I can never understand what it's like being in a room where you're sat and you're in a meeting or a boardroom and you're the only female there. I can never know how that feels. I can never know how it feels to be catcalled. Do you get it? I mean, it happens to men too, but it's different.
It's not the same. Yeah.
Do you get it? Like, I'm not to say much, but I'm someone who I know what it's like to walk in a room and do you get it? But it's not this. It can never be the same, because I've never felt threatened by women. I've never felt intimidated by a woman's approach. I've never felt in danger. I've never walked the streets and ever thought to myself that my gender makes me a target. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
True.
It's never happened. You feel me?
Even watching the times you're walking down the street.
For me as a guy, I'm worried about other things. This is Newham. You see it. Like, this is Newham. Trust me. I'm worried about. You feel me? If anything, I'm worried about other guys. You feel what I'm trying to say? So I understand. I can never understand. never understand. You feel me?
Yeah.
But I'm in a position where I want to learn. You feel me? And I don't think that I can ever learn enough. But I'm in a position where I feel like, take a step back, listen. Okay, you tell me, how do we move forward? You feel me?
And I think
that approach needs to be taken with race.
I think that's a really good way, because I've actually never thought about that, taking that approach with race. Because a lot of people, when you speak to them about anything to do with race, they're like, oh, I understand. And people get comfortable with understanding, not knowing you don't understand. If I tell you a policeman stopped me and he didn't have a reason for stopping me, I was literally walking down the street with anyone, and you tell me, oh, sorry, I understand now. You don't understand, because that wasn't your situation. Do you know what I mean? You can only sympathize and say, what can I do? Like, how can that be changed? You know what I mean? But you can't say, oh, I understand.
Do you want to know what put a smile on my face? And it shouldn't have put a smile on my face, but it did. I remember for years, you walk into certain shops and they won't serve you as a black kid if you've got your hoodie on, right? Or you'll be in a shop and shopkeepers following you around.
Oh, I've had that.
Right. Or you walk somewhere that has random searches and suddenly you're the random one, or stops and search. I had a smile on my face when I was watching a video of a group of women who walks into a shop and the shopkeeper refused to serve them on the grounds that they weren't wearing masks. And in my mind I was like,
welcome to my world.
Welcome to my world. You're seeing it for just a minute and you're filming it and you're feeling as though your rights are infringed because of someone else's rules you consider unfair. Rules are rules, right? We're always told, yeah, but if you walk into a shop, rules are rules. Why would you? Actually a valid reason. Why would you wear a hoodie? You know, you can't see you. It's for safety concerns, right? Well, the shop is telling you wearing a mask is for safety concerns, but you're trying to dismiss it. Welcome to my world. Do you get it? That's just a glimpse. But even then, there's certain things you just can't understand. You feel me?
That's a great example.
When you're just minding your own business and you're just randomly stopped and searched by the police, you feel me? And suddenly you feel embarrassed because you're on the road, people are seeing you or whatnot.
Yeah.
I've been taken off of a train, you feel me?
For real.
In order to be stopped and searched, right? And I remember seeing this video of a guy who was forcibly taken off of a train because he wasn't wearing a mask. And I'm like, I wonder how many people are going to see what's happening now and actually understand that we've gone through that our entire life, and it wasn't because of a mask. It was because of the colour of our skin.
Yeah.
You feel me? But I just feel as though that's gonna go over a lot of people's heads. You feel me? And I shouldn't have smiled, but I did, because I was like, I don't wish bad on anyone, and but at the same time I was like,
maybe that smile came from the fact that, you know, there will be some people that will take lesson from that.
I hope so.
Because
I
saw the video when that guy was getting dragged off the train, and how other people were taking up for him, saying how, oh, leave him alone, he can't wear a mask for whatever reasons, but they don't know his reasons. But I've actually never had a video like that of someone standing up for, say, that person who colour is black, saying, oh, leave him alone, like, you know, he's just an irregular person, what do you mean? Do you get what I mean? Until it's really to the point where that person's dying, and it's like, oh, okay, stop now, like, that's too much. Do you get what I mean?
I'm someone with a lot of pride. It is so difficult for me, and I think this is just a toxic trait, but it's so difficult for me to cry.
Why?
Even when I'm alone, I feel like,
well, the ancestors are watching.
Someone's gonna look at. I feel like someone's gonna be ashamed of me if I'm crying. Right? There's moments that I feel. Grandma passed away earlier this year. That had me in tears.
Sorry about that.
Right? That had me in tears. So there was those kind of situations. You can't avoid it, right? I don't, even when things get so deep, like, I firm it. Do you get what I mean? And I'm like, you're a big man, you know. You can't be crying. That's a toxic trait that I have.
But isn't that inside you?
But, it is. But, do you know what made me cry? The video of George Floyd.
That made me... I couldn't watch it.
I couldn't, like... I watched... I hated watching it. Because...
I felt dirty.
On Twitter, it was going on. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I was about to go to bed. Because I had work the next morning. And I'm just... Last scroll through Twitter, right? And
Yeah.
people are talking. I'm seeing this name. I'm like, what's happening in America now? Again? Click on the name. I saw the video. I was like, what did I just watch? Took it off, fell asleep. I woke up the next morning and my chest was heavy. I was like, what did I see? That can't have been real. I watched the video again. I literally, tears just started flowing down my eyes. Because I'm like, how can that happen? That's a slow murder. You don't even do that to animals. Do you get it? Like you can't even be that cruel to an animal if an animal's in pain and whatnot. What do they say? End it quickly. Do you get it? But that slow cry, seeing that man cry, beg for his help, beg for his life, begging for help, begging for his life, and that brought me to tears. I was so upset, and I went through so many different emotions. First, I was sad, I was heartbroken, and then I was angry. If you followed me on social media for like 2 straight weeks, I was angry. But then I just ended up feeling hopeless because I was like, it's not gonna, like, for me, I don't know what it is. I just feel like I have no faith in the idea of the conditions of black people changing in the Western world. I do not have faith in that.
Really?
I don't. I feel like when you see the response since then, because I don't like looking at it as though it's different sides, right? Because we shouldn't be in a position where we're looking at each other as different, right? There's different sides, right? But when you look at, if you see it that way, we have to be able to look at the other side and see hope. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And see a willingness to change, right? But when you look at the other side, and there's 3 categories for me. Those who genuinely care, nice-hearted, who want to help, who understand, not understand, but who see, who can,
injustice.
those who are on the right side of history. I'll put it that way, right? Then you have that's on one side. Then on the other side, you have the straight up racists. Those who know what's going on is wrong. Those who know that George Floyd was murdered and know that it was wrong, but still don't care. Do you get it? So you got those. But then you got people in the middle who just don't care too much. Do you get it?
Yeah, those ones.
And some of them don't know, they're unaware. But even if they knew, they're not gonna do much about it. Do you get it? It's a sad life. They don't mean bad, but they don't mean good. And I feel like that's the majority. Do you get it? And for as long as that's the majority,
and most people sitting in that middle bit,
in that middle ground,
have more of a voice.
Thank you.
And they speak louder than both
Anyone,
sides.
yeah.
Mind you, they
They're the ones who are like
enabling these acts.
there is no problem.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
We're gonna
These things
do this
happen.
little thing to silence that situation.
And I feel like this is a moment in history where you cannot be on the fence. It's A or B.
Welcome to A and B life.
Literally, it's A or B right now. Do you get it? You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. Do you get it? And it's that saying, silence is complicit. Do you get it?
Literally, that's how I thought. So watching the video, I tried to fast forward because I was wondering what's happening. When, is he going to get up and fight? Because literally I was thinking there's something's going to happen because someone sent it to me. And fast forward it and I was like, oh wait, I need to rewind it and watch the whole thing. Watching the whole thing, I felt like I was complicit to that. I kid you not, I felt like I was part. I was like, how can I watch this and not do anything? Like you said, you just felt hopeless. Like I was just like
hopeless,
like,
sad.
Literally.
Yeah.
I was like, that could be my brother. That could be.
That could be your dad. That could like
literally.
And it's like for me, the fact when people were asking why are people in this country so angry, it's like, my thing is, how could you not be angry regardless of where in the world you are? Here's a video of a man being murdered slowly, crying, and it doesn't matter where in the world that took place. It doesn't matter who it was. It doesn't matter the color of that man's skin. This is a human being being murdered, and you're not angry. And the way that there was a lot of people who dismissed its relevance because it happened in another country frustrated me even more. Do you get what I mean? Because I'm like, we live in a country that bombed Libya because they cared so much about the people in that country. You feel me?
Yeah.
That's what they were telling us, that Gaddafi's going to kill his people. We need to go in and help. So you care about people in another country and their safety, right? To the point where you went and bombed another country, right? But you're confused as to why black people are protesting in central London because of the murder of another man in another country. Do you get it? It's the same thing. It doesn't matter where someone is in the world. A human life is a human life. Do you get it?
Connected.
Like, we're all connected. You feel me? And it's even worse when you then put context to that story. And then as a black man, I'm seeing another black man being murdered in that way in a country that has a history of killing people who look like me.
And also the fact that he wasn't shot or anything, where they can say, we don't have guns here. This guy was just killed. He was just... anyone can do that in London and no one would not film that.
No, there was a video that came out about 2 weeks after, the police officer in North London who was doing it, who had his knee on the guy's neck and thing, and then but this is London, they weren't having it. The bystanders around weren't having it. I'll send you the link to the video. Jeez. Bystanders weren't having it. But it's just it's sad for me. It is I feel like sad. I gave up on, like, I don't see hope.
I don't want you to do that, especially for the things you're dreaming about doing. You shouldn't.
But I think it's different. I have hope in back home, and that's something I'm willing to. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. But
this is your legacy, like, literally.
But I feel like, as crazy as it sounds, right? I feel like, not to minimize myself, because I genuinely feel like I'm a great man, and I genuinely feel like if I put my focus on something, I can't be stopped. But I genuinely feel like this is something that's so deep, historically deep, that what is it about now that's going to change? Because here's a reality. Yeah. Let's face reality. We have to ask ourselves. I ask myself a few questions, right? Who doesn't know the history of race relations between black people and white people in this country, in the Western world? Who doesn't know? Who's unaware of slavery?
Kids,
who's unaware of slavery? Who's unaware of colonialism? Who's unaware of the civil rights movement? Do you get what I'm trying to say? No one. So what are we saying today that has not been said? What are we trying to get people to see?
I think we're reminding people, because people have their own life before other people's life. So they have their own issues that they focus on every day. So the first thing is not that person's black. I'm just thinking some people, oh, that person's black, or they're going through some injustices, I need to help them. So we need to constantly remind them, because I'm sure back in the day
that's been done though.
I'm sure back in the day there was someone who asked the same question you just asked now. Why do you think we're gonna get, so for instance the movements or whatever? I'm sure someone asked that question, and then there's been a lot that's happened to the point where look at us now. But then we need to get that ball rolling again.
Here's what it is. Here's how I see it. We're not in physical chains, of course not, right?
Yeah.
But if that's the measuring stick, if that's the bar, if we're supposed to be happy that we're not in chains, that in of itself is a problem. Because we should have never been in that position to begin with. You feel me? So when we want to see a better society, when we want equality, and you're pointing to the worst period in human history as the starting line, that's a problem. Am I making sense? It's like, again, I'm going to use gender again, right? Because that's the only thing I feel like I can compare it to, right? If women in the workforce are basically saying they're being harassed, and I'm like, yeah, but remember the time when you weren't allowed to work? So because historically there was a moment where you weren't allowed to work, you was in the kitchen, you was just seen as a housewife, which is a very degrading time for women.
Yeah.
So because there was a moment where that was the case, where you was nothing more than a property to a man, you should overlook the harassment you're facing in your workplace.
Oh, no.
Exactly. So for me, each time these conversations come up where people are like, but look how far you've come. I'm like, yo, big man.
This is not to look at how far you've come. This is to stop you from losing hope.
No, my hope is in. I don't feel like. I kept saying it, right, and I had to check myself. I kept saying that we will be the last generation to fight this, because I genuinely felt that at the time, right? I was so angry at the time, and I was like, we're the last. Like it has to end with us. Come what may, we cannot allow future generations to be fighting the same battle that we've been fighting.
Yeah.
But then I came to it and I was like, with the way society is set up, one thing happened. We went to that Black Lives Matter movement, protest.
Yeah.
I went 2 days in a row, Saturday, Sunday. The very next week, what was in central London?
The riots?
The counter protest. And I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing the hatred. Yeah? And I'm like, that's just a glimpse, a small glimpse, right, of really what it's like out there in the rest of society. Yeah. Because for me, how I took it is, those are the foot soldiers. Do you get it? That was the front line of the so-called resistance. You feel me? And I'm like, seeing that hatred, seeing that passion, and then seeing all those fights that were taking place, and I'm like, man, we've got a long way to go. Because if you can't understand the simple concept of Black Lives Matter and where that comes from, like the fact that we're still having to educate people to let people know that Black Lives Matter does not mean no one else matters. Do you get it? It doesn't mean that. We all know all lives matter. But historically speaking, it's shown that in the Western world, we haven't mattered as much. You feel me?
Very true.
Society has been unfair on us. Our lives have not been held to the same standards, same regard as everyone else. So it's a movement to remind you that we are human too. Yeah. That we deserve the very same rights that you have. You feel me?
Yeah.
the fact that in 2020 we're still having a conversation to explain that one simple concept.
Yeah.
That I can say Black Lives Matter and someone can turn around and be like, no, all lives matter. The fact that that's still happening tells you we've got a long way to go. Because we need to first get on, until people first accept that there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Remember the middle bit you spoke about?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I
they're
lost
the
hope.
majority?
That's why I lost hope. Do you see it? Because
Okay.
until we can accept that there's a problem to begin with, how can we then start to talk about solutions?
But then them seeing that counter group coming out, I'm sure some of them saw exactly what we mean when we say Black Lives Matter.
Have you been on social media?
I have, but I try
Do
to
you
protect
see
myself.
how...
It drains me.
I posted the other day when I was like, social media is such a toxic place.
It is. I literally take breaks. So if you message me and I don't respond, literally means...
It's so toxic. And it's like the level of racism on social media blows my mind. And I look at it and I'm like, how in the world can people still have these views in this day and age? How can you legitly hate people based off of the color of their skin in 2020? We should have moved on from this a long time ago. You feel me? But the fact that we haven't moved on from that, and that hatred still exists, that ignorance still exists,
Yeah.
and then we find ourselves in a position where we're still having to educate people on the most
Dumbest.
It's
the
just the
Some of them I
simplest
find them really
concept.
dumb. Yeah.
It's the simplest concept. You feel me? Black Lives Matter. Do you know what I think they need to hear? Two. Like, it should literally read Black Lives Matter 2. Do you get it? I think then they'll get it. But at no point does that statement mean that any Tom, Dick and Harry, any mother walking the face of this earth can tell you all lives matter. No one's ever denied that.
Yeah.
Every human life is precious. You feel me?
Yeah.
Maybe a handful of people throughout history probably didn't deserve to breathe. Hitlers and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, every human life is precious. You feel me?
Yeah.
But come on, look at what's actually happening in society.
Yeah.
You feel me? History has shown you. And you're talking about a people that were enslaved, colonized, then had to go through laws that prevented them from being on an equal pedestal to everyone else.
Yeah.
People where politicians and police forces will openly discriminate against them and speak about bringing them down and so on and so forth. And today, society numbers show you that there's a serious disadvantage between the two.
Yeah.
That the criminal justice system is racist institutionally, education system, housing system, where certain people cannot live in certain communities or certain houses, where the housing system shows you, the statistics are telling you that you're more likely to be put in a flat. Do you get it? If you're from a particular race, or if you have a particular name, then other people then being given a house and all these different things. So then when we turn around and like, yo, we matter too, you know? Like, we matter. It's not out of... I think, like, certain people see it as though it's a statement of superiority. It's not.
It's not.
In
Honestly,
any way,
it's
shape
not.
or form. You feel me? But the fact that we're still having that conversation, the fact that we're still having to explain that, and the fact that people in this country are so dismissive about the reality of race relations in this country, given this country's history, makes me literally feel hopeless and feel
I think what comes in play with this country is classism. That creates classes in areas. For instance, you'll find people that in different areas where they don't really interact with that many black people.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, it's either they're serving them,
Mm-hmm.
say it's an event and it's someone serving them a drink.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really, there isn't going to be an incident where someone's going to be racist to that person directly, or even wondering, why is this person serving us and why is this person not part of us? Do you get what I mean? So I think with classism, they don't notice that it's being racist. It's like, we're, say, Chelsea, for instance. Like, you can come live here if you want, not knowing, like, how can I? Have you seen the system, though? Because what I saw on Instagram especially, I saw some posts from some, say, Made in Chelsea guys, and they were like, I'd never really noticed, like, I didn't know, like, if I saw a guy being harassed, it means because he's black. It's because in their world, their bubble, it doesn't happen. It's not an everyday thing. Like, they don't drive around.
Can't fathom the idea of being stopped by police.
The further they've driven, I think, is Victoria, and that's the hoodest place to them. Okay, and that's passing by in a black cab,
which is posh to hear.
Exactly. To us, that's posh. So in their bubble, they've never seen that, and then to them seeing, say, that video of George Floyd, like, whoa.
What did he? That's why.
What did he do?
What did he do?
Yeah,
start
what did
asking
he do?
questions because you can't fathom the idea that.
So we need to get those people and teach them, like, open your eyes. This has actually been happening. Most people, I tell you not, they told me. Have you actually ever had, like, a racial situation before? Have you ever felt? I'm like.
Yes. And do you know what it is? I think people focus so much on the clear, overt racism that they don't understand that what really eats away at you is that small, subtle,
passive aggressive,
that kind of racism, that micro racism. That's what really eats away at your
get
soul.
Someone really angry.
Do you get it? Little comments here and there in the work. Like, for me, at work, it's like I do me now. Get in the office, sit down at my desk, do what I need to do, go home. Because it's the smallest things. It's the little comments that people make. It's the way people will talk about other issues. Or for me, this George Floyd thing was a defining factor for me at work.
Okay.
How people approached it.
Yeah.
Did you get it? And their views on that whole thing. I was like, bruh. And you start thinking to yourself, so if you think this about them, then you must think that about me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I mean? Mm-hmm. And for me, that's what really eats away. And I don't know, man. I think you see what you said about class. I think I hear you, but we have to understand that it's very difficult to separate race and class for us as black people when the vast majority of our people are working class. Do you get what I mean? So any issue that's on a class level is naturally going to affect the vast majority of black people. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And also, we also have to understand that we live in a world, and this is my theory, where blackness in of itself is now associated with working class or lower class, whereas whiteness is considered or associated with upper class. So just in clothing, how you dress, how you carry yourself, something as simple as a do-rag, right? A do-rag for some reason isn't seen as professional, or it shouldn't be in certain environments, or when you see someone wearing a do-rag, you look at them a certain type of, or you judge the kind of character that person is, right? Yeah. But I'm just here thinking, it's to protect my hair. A do-rag's entire job is to protect the only reason it exists is not for fashion.
Yeah.
It's because it works to nurture black hair. Hence why the vast majority of the people you're going to see wearing it are black men. Because it gives us waves. It works our hair. It protects. It's for our type of hair. You're not going to see other communities and other people wearing it because they've got different hair textures. Do you get it?
Yeah.
But because it's associated to us, it's automatically associated to criminality. Do you get it?
Yeah.
And a certain kind of lifestyle. But in my mind, I'm like there's times I'm at work and I want to wear it.
Yeah.
But you can't because it's inappropriate or this or that. But I'm like, I need it to protect my hair. Just think about that.
As in, they have rules that you can't.
Yeah,
wear it?
you couldn't.
Wow.
Couldn't.
I feel very lucky. Like I think a year or so ago, I cut my hair off, and I went to work, and I had a hat on, cut everything.
That's.
I mean,
that's
imagine. I was waiting for someone to
say something.
To say something.
Let's put it this way now. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine me. Yeah.
Yeah.
A whole me.
Yeah.
Sat at a desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. In an office with a do-rag on.
I mean, to me, I don't. It's not the first.
To me, it's normal.
Yeah.
Because
to me also,
I know why I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
But instantly, you know, it's because it's not normal and it's not something that's regularly seen. It's seen as out of place. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's the same way for a long time. Black women were told what kind of hair they can or cannot have in certain employments. Do you get it? Where just recently, what do you call it, in New York, and I was talking about it so much in terms of the UK needs to follow suit, where they passed a law that made it illegal in the state of New York for an employer to not give someone or to penalize a woman for her hair.
Yeah.
Think about that. That was this year. We need to pass that kind of law where dreads, people ask if you're going to cut off your dreads or braids or certain types of hair weren't acceptable in the workforce. Do you get it? And you're like, when you read all these rules and these laws, they target in a particular group. You feel me? And those are the things that really eat away at you. Where you're not going to turn around and say, no, you can't work here because you're black.
Yeah, they're using other words.
You're going to be like, for you to work here, you know you can't have your dreads. But then from when a person has dreads, that's spiritual. Do you understand that?
Exactly.
That's not just, dreads aren't just
It's
a fashion
whole
sense.
Thing.
It's spiritual.
It's a
Do you get
whole
it?
lifestyle,
Like,
honestly.
it's deep. It's deeper than just what you see. Do you get it? And then you're like, do you know what hair means to black women? It's cultural. It's it's also spiritual. Different types of hair represents different things for different cultures and so on and so forth. But then you're telling us she can't have her braids on at work. Do you see those kind of things? And it's those things that really made me lose hope. And I'm like, I'm going to stick to Ugandan politics where I can scream and shout. I may get killed, but hey.
Okay, not now. Like, when you're really old.
I may get killed, but that's where my focus is. I mean, I love this country. Like, it's the only home I've ever known. I've been here my entire life. And I am so thankful that my parents chose here instead of
staying back home.
No, the other country over there.
Which one is that?
The States.
Oh, the States.
that country down there.
The country down
That's
there.
West, right?
Yeah,
that country
West.
over there. Yeah. I'm so grateful, and if I was to do it again, not just anywhere, but East London. East London means everything to me. Like it's who I am to my core.
I think hence why you need to like
everything to me.
Continuously do something before you dive into Ugandan politics.
Listen, you see this, like I've realized it on so many different occasions. You step out of East London, you realize how big this island is. Newham is small.
True. It is.
Yeah?
It is, yeah.
Newham is small. And for someone like me, for years, I'd barely leave Newham. I grew up in a bubble where Newham was all I knew. You feel me? But the second you step out of Newham, the second you leave East London, this is a big island. This ain't not... People keep saying it's an island. This island is big.
No, true.
Like, it's... You realise just how big it is in the sense of you're a fraction of the wider picture of this country. You feel me? And African Americans have an advantage in terms of numbers. You feel me? We don't have that.
We don't have the numbers.
We don't have that. We have a cabinet, yeah, that doesn't have a single black person on it. Not one.
You know, there's areas in London where there's no black people.
Exactly. Like we don't realize how small of a community we are. So our concerns, how seriously are they going to be taken in the grand scheme of things?
I don't know. I feel like even with us being very small, we are so divided in a way.
Listen, bring me back.
You have to.
That's another topic.
We are so divided, and it pisses me off because I'm like, how are we gonna fight this if we're divided?
Listen, I can speak on so much. I can speak literally on how there's a lot of self-hate. I can speak on the issue of money and black businesses and how we don't support one another.
Speak on it.
I can speak on what I refer to as self-genocide when we're talking about gang violence.
Not heard of that before.
And how... So here's my thing, and I don't want to shoot myself in the foot here because I want to talk about this extensively, but I want to give you an insight, a little insight into something I'm working on. It's something I'm working on for Black History Month. But here's a conversation I want to have, right? I love drill music.
Okay.
Absolutely love drill music. Rap, that's me. Do you get it? I've got people, I've got friends who are in the game and everything. Like this, you open my Spotify. That's like UK drill. Like I don't even listen to American hip hop that much. I'm so in tune to UK drill. Like I love that. It's me. You feel me? I defended it for years. Right? Even when this whole talk of should it be banned, that, I was like, no, never. I'm at a stage right now where I can no longer defend drill. As much as I love it, I can no longer defend it.
Why? What happened?
That's a conversation for another day.
You need to come back.
That's honestly a conversation for another day. But I can no longer defend drill. Like, to the point where at times I feel guilty these days when I listen to it.
That's sad. Having something that you really like and then...
Yeah, but again, that's another thing that speaks into what you're talking about, the issues within the black community. You feel me? But again, I feel like it's... Think about it like a country. It's what I was saying earlier, right? You have to have an internal approach and an external approach. You feel what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So, when it comes to the black community, we have internal issues, as black people, that we need solving. But then there's external issues in terms of us and the wider society. You feel me? The problem is that people associate both. People try to link both, i.e., you're protesting about what do you call it, police brutality, or you're complaining about institutional racism, but there's gang violence, and you're like, yo, big man, how are the two linked?
Thank you.
And you're like, make it make sense to me. You feel me? They're different issues. This is an internal. This is an issue.
Internal.
That's different. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Yes, it's affecting us, but what we're talking about is how other things affect us as well. And it's like, so what? We understand that there's a problem here, but does that give you the right to then treat us this way? Because that's essentially what you're saying. Essentially, what you're telling us is because of rogue elements within our community. That gives the state the right to oppress us.
That's what I was literally about to say. Literally about to say.
Make it make sense, please. Make it make, because it's not adding up. Bigger your quarter Ghana.
Yeah.
Do you get it? And You need to bring me back.
Listen, you need to come back. Honestly,
That's
let me even not take up too much of your time.
That's completely different.
Hakim, thank you so much. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nah, man, listen, keep doing what you're doing. I like this.
Yeah.
I like this. It's very intimate. It's very. You got things out of me that I don't say anywhere else. I'm like a robot in terms of.
I like robots.
I'm like a politician now. Yeah, I watch what I say. I say the right things when it's annoyed a lot of people in the past.
Okay.
Like I've gone on some of my people's shows, and it's like they know what I truly feel, but I answer in a very diplomatic way, and I'm what. But that's because a lot of the time it's right in front of a camera. Do you get it? And I'm like, I have to keep my image, and I don't know what it is. I think because I'm in a do-rag, I'm just comfortable. I'm in the hood.
Do you know what I learned? Sometimes the message gets lost when you're watching. Because you're looking at someone's face, you're looking at their t-shirt or whatever, she's wearing stripe, whatever, forgetting you're meant to listen. So sometimes when you listen, because I do get a lot of feedback from people, it's like, oh, that person mentioned that, I've never heard of that. What can you ask them? What does that mean? So like I sometimes miss it. I'm like, because I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you, so I miss certain things. And when I go back and listen, I'm like,
oh, that's what he said.
That's what they said. Okay, interesting.
Oh,
I messaged them.
He's
what
more
does that
intelligent than I thought.
True, but yeah, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Thank you for listening. It's TGO, that's good. All right, bye.